After the electric meter situation, I tried not to make a big deal out of it. I told myself it was just a mistake. But after that, I started paying a little more attention to what was going on. And the more I looked at the project, the more something felt off. I thought I had a partner there. Turned out I just had a guy I was wiring money to, and whose word I believed. While the house was being renovated, I was on the road, driving across the country, working. Most of the time, I was thousands of miles away from Pittsburgh. I had seen the house in person only once. After that, I never came back during the renovation. Not once. And at the time, that didn't seem unusual to me. Mark was in Pittsburgh, I was in a truck. He had his side, I had mine. And the whole time I was driving, photos kept coming in. Every few days there was something new. The roof was starting to look like a roof again. The windows were in. The house looked different every time I saw it. Sitting in a truck 2,000 miles away, those photos meant a lot. They felt like proof. Proof that the money was turning into something. Proof that the plan was real. At first, the plan was to save the old gazebo behind the house. But once the work started, we decided it wasn't worth keeping. So it came down. A small tree next to it was removed too. Mark also hired a licensed plumber to reconnect the service. The guy brought the line into the utility room. Later, the utility company installed the meter. And for the first time, the house had water again. And honestly, seeing all of that felt good. The project was moving forward. Every new photo made it look like we were getting closer to finishing it. And Mark kept telling me we were still on track. He kept saying we'd finish it in about 2 months. Looking at those photos, I believed him. But not everything was going according to plan. At some point, the city started sending notices about the grass around the house. It needed to be cut. So I told Mark about it, and he said he'd cut the grass. A little later, another notice showed up. Then another. And eventually the fines started coming in too. Every time I brought it up, he said he'd cut it tomorrow, or the next day. And honestly, I didn't think much about it at the time. I had a lot going on already. I was still driving. So eventually I forgot about it. Around the same time, there was another situation that stuck with me. One morning, Mark called me. I was in California, somewhere out in the Mojave Desert. It was around 5 in the morning for me. He said he needed a dumpster for the renovation, and he wanted me to order it. So I asked for the phone number and called the company. The first thing they asked was whether I had a permit from the city. I didn't know. They told me I would need to check with the city first. So I called Mark back, and he told me no permit was needed. At that point, the whole thing started feeling ridiculous. I was sitting in the Mojave Desert trying to figure out whether a dumpster needed a city permit for a house near Pittsburgh. And the person managing the project was standing right there. And look, Mark didn't speak much English, so a lot of those calls just ended up on me anyway. But he was already buying materials and dealing with suppliers, so I couldn't understand why I was the one making that call. Finally, I told him, anything involving the electric company, the water company, or the gas company, I need to handle myself. Because I'm the owner of the house. Those companies want to talk to the owner. But everything else related to managing the renovation is your responsibility. And that's when he got upset. He said he thought he could rely on me for that. Then he said he'd handle it himself. After that conversation, Mark finally ordered the dumpster. I don't know what changed. But somehow the dumpster showed up, and the work moved on. None of that stopped the payments. There was money for materials, money for labor, And there was the payment we had agreed on from the beginning, the money Mark said he needed to support his family while he worked on the project full-time. Every time he asked, there was a reason. And honestly, the reason usually made sense. At least it did to me at the time. So I kept sending the money. Around that time, Mark brought up another expense. He said he wanted to buy a generator. The house still didn't have electricity. And without power, there was only so much work he could do inside. So I understood why he was asking. But something about that didn't add up. The money was supposed to go into the house. A generator isn't part of the house. It's a tool. And if you're the one managing the project, you bring your own tools. That's how it works. At the same time, I understood the problem. If the power didn't get connected soon, the work would slow down. So I was already leaning toward buying it. But in the end, we didn't have to. Mark hired an electrician to install a new electrical panel. Then the utility company finally came out and installed the meter. After that, the power was connected. The generator was no longer needed. Later, the utility company sent me the bill. It was more than $1,000 for the meter and the installation. And that was not money I had sent to Mark. That was another expense I paid directly out of my pocket. As soon as the power was on, I brought up the gas service. I thought we should start that process next. But he told me it was still too early. He said there were still a few things he needed to finish inside the house first. After that, he said we could move forward with the gas. And at the time, that made sense to me. So we waited. By that point, the first draw was running out. Both of us knew it. The work was still moving forward, but it was pretty obvious we were going to need the next draw soon. That's how the loan worked. The money came in draws. And before they approved the next one, the lender wanted to see the progress. They wanted photos showing the work. I remember bringing that up to Mark more than once. By then, I already knew how slow hard money lenders could be. I didn't want the project sitting around waiting for money. So I kept telling him, let's send the photos. Let's get the next draw moving. But Mark wanted to wait. He said he wanted to finish a few more things first. He thought the photos would look better that way. Maybe he was right. I don't know. I just wasn't thinking about the photos. I was thinking about the next draw. As far as I understood, the lender only needed to see that the work was moving forward. But Mark wanted to wait. So we held off on sending the photos, and we waited a little longer. So we waited. And eventually the first draw ran out. The second draw still hadn't arrived. And for a while, the project had nothing to do but wait. By that point, about a month had already gone by. And I'd been looking at those photos for weeks. The work was moving forward. I could see that. The roof was done. The windows were in. The water was back on. The power was finally connected. There was progress. Real progress. But I could also see how much work was still left. We weren't going to finish this project in 2 months. Not even close. Mark was still saying everything was under control. He was still talking about the same timeline. But by then, I wasn't paying much attention to the timeline anymore. I was looking at the photos. The more photos I got, the more obvious it became. We weren't anywhere near the finish line. If anything, it felt like we were just getting started.